Industrial Development Agency. We'll start with a roll call of the board members. I am Kathy Murphy.
Ricky Brown.
Ken Kinsey.
Sonneborn.
Steve Thompson.
Thank you all very much. Full board is present. Proof of notice was properly served. Included in our packet were the minutes of our last meeting held June 24th, 2025. Is there a motion to approve or any recommended changes?
I move its approval.
Thank you, Dirk. Second, Ken. Last call for comments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you. First item on the agenda is a new business for our agency policies. As you may recall, at our last meeting, our project approval policy and our uniform tax exemption policy were presented for consideration to the board. We did at the last minute find a cut and paste error that we decided to, rather than correct there, hold, revise, correct, modify, get it right, and put it back on for today. So before us are the project approval policy, the uniform tax exempt policy. I'll just go through very briefly a couple of highlights. Our goal is to incentivize housing and job creation, and we have worked hard, I believe, to try to incentivize both of those as primary policies for our agency and the city. We have established payment schedules, pilot payment schedules, which will return dollars back to the city earlier than previously scheduled by a couple of years. We have created what we call a boost category, which is a category that will incentivize project development in brownfield areas, historic areas, priority neighborhoods, infill, so along a street where 3 or 4 buildings are already done and we have one. It's harder to do that last building, it's usually more costly, so there is a boost availability if the project qualifies, as well as the BRT, the transit corridors that are being developed by the city and the Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation. In addition, in our project approval policy, something that we're excited about, I think, we're going to test out what we call a small-scale project application, which will basically work with projects that are under $3 million or less and give a pilot to those projects if they qualify, as well as a reduction. The fee will go to 0.5% from our normal 1%. And there will be the attorney's fees, which are sometimes high, depending on the deal and what's happening, will remain at a number that we think, hopefully, will not detract from a small project. So we're going to try that. We've never had something like that, and we're going to see if it appeals to what we like to call neighborhood commercial corridors, right? So those smaller streets that have just a few blocks, but they're still commercial, and if we can be helpful, we'd like to see if we'll make a difference. So that's also in this packet. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll take a look in a year and revise accordingly. That's my pitch. Sue, did I forget anything?
You did not. I just want to give some history so we understand what the board is being asked to do today. Back in 2022, the board did adopt a revised UTEP that had been worked on for a very long time in a set of circumstances where we were trying to incentivize community incentives. Shortly, and by shortly, I truly mean almost immediately after we got that adopted, we learned that the city was on the precipice of adopting rezone, which was going to impact city geography and where things could be built. And the city was undertaking its housing study. So the board determined to put a pin in it, so to speak, into both our UTEP that we adopted at that time and a corresponding policy called your community benefits policy. We've never used that policy because those two documents went hand in hand, and the agency determined to hold them both in abeyance. Their effective date was held in abeyance. Following rezone, following the housing study, following different economic trends that were happening, we revisited the UTEP, and that is what we are presenting to you today, along with the amendments to the project approval policy, which includes the small-scale project Kathy mentioned. So what you're being asked to do today is to rescind the 2022 UTEP, rescind the community benefits policy, and approve the UTEP policy that is in your packet that we've been talking about, as well as the project approval policy that's in your agenda.
I'll just add one more thing. There are no other changes to the project approval policy in terms of our MWBE policy or city workforce policy that we put in place several years. So those stand and remain as they were. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Just a couple quick questions for me.
Yes.
In terms of a number of projects for consideration, is there a minimal number of projects that you'd like to see go through this process in terms of an evaluation phase, if you will?
On a small scale?
Yeah.
I don't have a number in my head. I don't know if anybody else does. I think I'd like to see more than one, right?
Okay.
And maybe see the geography spread.
Second question was,
Right.
are there geographic considerations for, you want one on the east side versus one on the west, et cetera?
In a perfect world, it would be great to see it happening in
All over.
Yeah.
Eastwood and the Valley and Elmwood and Westcott and all of the neighborhoods.
So there are no limitations,
But
in other
there's
words,
no
for now, it's
geographic
open
No.
limit.
citywide.
And I think it's important to note that, well, in my mind anyway, I don't want to speak for Kathy or any of the other staff that was working on the UTEP, but it was intentional because we want to incentivize small projects wherever it makes sense for them. And we were very careful not to limit that geography. So the only real caveat is it has to be $3 million or less. That's how we've determined to be a small-scale project. And previously and historically, projects of that amount, it doesn't make financial sense for them to come and get benefits from this agency because of the associated fees, which is why, working with Kathy and the staff, we came up with this proposal to have your fee be 0.5%, with the other half going back into the project, and capping legal fees to the applicant. So the applicant will only, have a nut of such a number. There are some safeguards built in there so that the board doesn't end up paying legal fees that are astronomical. But with my experience, it wouldn't come to that unless, you can always have an outlier, right? A project that every single thing that can go wrong goes wrong, that the developer is not sophisticated enough to understand how to put the capital stack together. I mean, there's a million things that can happen that drive fees up, but we are able to identify those very early in the process. And so if we see red flags, we'll bring it to the board and say, we're worried about this. Are there other resources we can bring to bear to help this project be successful? But in looking at all of the factors, I think Kathy and I and the rest of the staff that worked on the policy feel that including a small-scale project opportunity is a benefit. And hopefully we'll see that people are able to take advantage of it.
So one of the things I think we should do after the summer is, if you remember, pre-COVID, we had several meetings. We had one with the stakeholders of our applicant constituency, which was all of the developers. We invited all of them to come and tell us what they thought, if wishes were fishes, what would you see, right? And that was one meeting. And then we had a meeting with the Urban Jobs Task Force and some other affiliated community agencies. to hear from them, if wishes were fishes, what would you like? So I would like to, if we pass this, go back to both of those groups and say, here's what we've done. We'll put it on our website. We'll work with some of our more consistent attorneys, applicants, developers, people in the local community who we talk to a lot and call and are in the office and all of that. Bree and Cole will have it at their disposal with all of the, the talking points and the key pieces to it. It might not work. I mean, I think we have to acknowledge that, but it may generate interest. And if we try one or two or three and we still didn't get it right, then I think we'll have some basis for saying, we need to change this, and this would work better if we did ABC. Right now, we're kind of just hoping, guessing, that this will be the right mix. Yeah, it's a start, right?
Right.
You know, if this is a single project, or is this an umbrella? Could I say, I want to build 20 houses, 5 here, 10 here, 15 here, and it's under the cap? Is that, and saying, does that work?
You're trying to be a small scale, Steve, you're trying to skirt the process. Let me just understand the question.
No, I'm confused.
Steve went right to where everyone that's watching is.
Right. If you came to the agency and you were doing a scattered site project, my gut tells me that would not qualify, because there's no way you're going to do a scattered site project that is $3 million or less. The small scale project is truly intended, if you owned a barber shop on Westcott and you needed to do renovations, or you wanted to open a small bakery, or you're the curd nerd and you're expanding. Those types of projects where the total project cost is $3 million or less, prior to this, it would cost them more money to come and get benefits than it would be worth it to them. And in many instances, not all, but in many instances, you have small businesses who don't own the real estate. They're leasing. And so they're not eligible for a pilot. They could really benefit from sales tax, but again, the project is so small that the other fees make it unlikely. So it is a single project, the costs of which are $3 million or less.
So 20 houses doesn't qualify,
Yeah, so
Steve.
thanks for asking, Steve, but you're paying full freight.
It's a good try. Any other comments, questions, concerns?
I'd say thank you to staff and board leadership for getting this to where it is today, and particular thanks also for the 2 or 3 points I had previously raised for clarification that are very clear. So, but thanks to staff and leadership.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Ricky to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Dirk.
I wouldn't want it to fail for lack of a second.
I wouldn't either. Last call for any comments or questions. Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Thank you all very much. I don't have any further business. I don't know if anyone else does. Any other items? Sue?
None.
Oh, good. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Ricky. Second? Steve.
Steve.
All in favor, please say aye.
Just want to see if it was going to fail.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Yes.